Welcome, friends. Welcome to today's Reconsider It live stream. Best live stream you're gonna see all day. And here on this live stream, you are gonna get a very nice hour of some improvised live looping. Vocals only. We already got the foundation of a beat. I'm going to be building upon this over the course of the next hour. Man, it's going to be so good. We're going to bring in the synth and everything. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's called Tinker Time. My regulars know what it is. If you are new to the Reconsider It live streams, welcome! You made the right decision joining us. We want you here. Right now, my friends, we are in a warm-up phase. We are just getting the blood flowing, just getting ourselves situated, setting expectations well, allowing this foundation, this beginning of a beat to sink in. And while we are here in this warm-up phase, my friends, I need to celebrate. I need to celebrate you. Thank you for being here. Whether you are here with us live in the chat, whether you are here with us live but you are not in the chat, whether you are here with us after the live, you are watching on replay, however it is that you are here with us. Thank you for being here. I'm going to celebrate you at this time in this way. I have got my drink. I am going to count to 3 and I'm going to clink. At that time, you are invited to join the rest of us as we cheers along and celebrate our togetherfulness. And that whole count-up experience where we're counting up to 3, that is about to begin, and it begins, of course, with the first number on 1. And then, of course, after that, you have 2. And 3. Clink. Cheers, my crew. Man, that is good. That's very good. That gives me all of the good bumps. The good bumps. That's really good. That was some good stuff. I like good. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Help us reach our goal. Can we do it? Our goal. Can we reach our goal? Our goal is to remain in excess of 600 subscribers as we go into 2026. remain in excess of 600. We recently exceeded 600. We are a little bit above 600 subs at this time. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really good. That's like a good thing that's good and awesome. But the goal is to remain in excess as we cross over into 2026. Friends, we have a tinker stream on our hands. This is a really good thing. This is a thing that's like a good thing that's good. This is the kind of thing you would write home about. This is a good thing. And given our very humble tinker beginnings here, I hereby get into it. I hereby proceed and get on with it already. I'm going to start building up this beat some more. As I often do, my regulars know this to be true. I go explore and unglue myself from this present configuration of the beat. And add some percussion to it. Sweet. To bring it to the level of being quite elite. So we got a built-up beat. Percussion. The percussion layer, I mean. Let's join us. I'm getting caught up on the chat. I'm getting caught up on the chat! What an exciting getting caught up on process it is right now. There's so much excitement. I see or a little earlier, this is not right now, but a couple minutes ago, Thomas said, "Nothing can keep us from your fire." Man, that heat. I also see probes ads also a couple minutes ago as I now get caught up on the chat. Probes ads. Oh, thank you for your nice comments on my videos. Cool. I'm glad. Glad you liked it. Whatever it was that I said, it was for that video. It was whatever it brought out of me. So whatever I said, you earned. That was some genuineness, whatever it was. I just think it's so cool that there's such an active community on YouTube of musicians. Now, it's not surprising that there are musicians on the internet sharing their content. That part is not a surprise. But I didn't realize that YouTube, you know, there are these circles of musicians where it's like 20 or 30 people who all know each other, and then this other circle where there's an overlap of, 15, 20 of them. And then everybody's hanging out on Discord and everything. By the way, join my Discord. If you haven't already, if we're not already connected on Discord, you send me a friend request. It's just reconsider it. So it's very, very easy to find. Find me, the profile, the person. My Discord is not visible to searches at this time, to public searches. But I can invite you. I see with us right now we have Nick. One of the most active people in my Discord. We got channels talking about comic books. Nick and I talk about comics in there. I was thinking about reading one of my stacks. They're so big. My stacks of comics now that I've bought, for the past however many years at this point, and I just haven't gotten to reading them. They're just stacking up over there. Anyway, the other day I was thinking about reading some. I wound up busying myself elsewise. But it was good as a possible activity. And in the Discord, we have fun. Talk about comics, comic book movies and stuff. And other things, too. We have a mental health channel. Memes. Miscellaneous other things. Certainly my music. Any live streams, I generally post a link there before we go live. Some people turn on notifications for that live channel. Nick says it's hard to read. Not to say like hard to, read words and do reading comprehension and retention, but rather, I believe, if I'm reading it correctly, it's hard to find time to read. There's so many distractions. I have to set aside time for it, says Nick. Yeah, I'm the same way too. I generally don't read, except for scripture. I read the Holy Torah every day, in Hebrew, with commentary. That I read, and I read other Torah-related things. I was reading a book earlier today called Lilmod Wulilomed. And that's it's just like commentary on the Torah. So I was reading that earlier. Aside from that, though, I don't really read very much. But as I say, I was going to set aside time to read some comics the other day. But I didn't. I wound up doing other things. I had some time that I needed to fill, but I wound up filling it with other things. Nonetheless, I would still like to find time to read some of these comics. There's a lot of them. A lot of them I have yet to read. They're just stacking up. So many other things, as Nick says, so many distractions. Yeah, I have so many things that, like, it's, what do they say? They say, death by 1,000 paper cuts. You ever heard that? I have so many responsibilities, sometimes little things. I gotta take out the garbage. That's a little thing, but it's still something I have to do. And it's easy for me, well, maybe not, I shouldn't say easy, but I do have a limited bandwidth for being responsible for stuff before I need to rest. Here's maybe the most penetrating insight you'll hear all day. But that is the fundamental, let's say, like, distinction between a let's say, I don't want to say, I'm struggling with how to phrase this. Either like a life lived properly or productively or purposefully, but like, the deep philosophical questions like, oh, reason, like what should I be doing? What's the reason for being here? And all this kind of stuff. What's the purpose of life? Somewhere embedded within that, the response to that. What is the purpose of life and all this? I'm not saying this is the ultimate purpose. I'm saying that it's somewhere woven into the answer to that. What should I be doing? How do I fulfill my existence or my role and what have you, my purpose? Somewhere woven in that is taking responsibility. And that is the nature of the human dimension. It's this idea of voluntarily taking responsibility. That's how you advance in the human dimension. Voluntary responsibility. And so that's why, and here's the penetrating insight. Because that's the purpose of the human dimension, or at least that's why you tune into the human dimension. That's why you are aware that you are a human, and you have this like persistent awareness of yourself with a body, like you're looking out from behind these eyes. Here you are, you're a human. You have a human body. You can feel things. You hear things. You smell things. You're a human. You're perceiving yourself as a human. This whole space and dimension exists in order to give you the opportunity to voluntarily be responsible for things. Especially inconvenient things. You're like, I don't want to mow the lawn. Yeah, I'm with it. I also don't want to mow the lawn. That's a voluntary responsibility. Or similar things. I'm not just talking household chores, but like taking responsibility for what your contributions are in a conversation, let's say. Are the things you say productive, cooperative, constructive? Are you bringing some value? Or do you more just like, laugh and joke? There's so many tributaries or canals in the human dimension. So many different possible things that you could use as your place to be responsible for something. And then there's a whole bunch of other areas of the human dimension where you're not responsible for things. And you are more just expressive. And then other people are responsible for those things that you're not responsible for. But you are here to have some responsibility of something. It may or may not be household chores. income. Supporting a loved one. You're here for something. For being responsible for something. For being at the helm, including accountable. At the helm of something. Maybe more than one thing. With us at this time, we have which is a very great experience unto itself. I see there is some chat for me to get caught up on at this time. Going back to our discussion from earlier about reading, I see Probe says there are some places that I find good for reading, such as hospitals and trains and planes. I have a chair that you can't see, it's off camera over here. I have a chair that's like I don't know what it's called, but it's like one of these big circular chairs you sit in. That like hangs, it's like a little pouch. That's what my chair is over there. It's pretty nice, it's pretty comfortable. I can put my feet up a little bit. Probe's comments on how it's nice to have on specifically a plane and a train, you get this ever-changing landscape, but you're not, your attention is free. You don't have to drive the car. You are able to just sort of like kick back on the train and go for the train ride. I wonder how much of that will be made available on a daily basis to the average person when we get to a point where we have, you already know where I'm going, where we have stable, autonomous cars, or a stable, autonomous, whatever they become, flying saucers. Because we're not there right now. We're still at a point where individuals have automobiles and, here's this truck that has to drive down the road to deliver whatever to wherever. But eventually we're going to get to a point of some kind of automated system of vehicle. It may or may not look like cars. I think cars is possible. The idea of self-driving cars. Safe self-driving cars. I think that is, it seems based on what I observe in the, let's say the news, but really just whatever media is available on the topic of self-driving cars. It seems like there is significant progress being made. But we're obviously not yet at the road is filled with exclusively automated vehicles. And it seems to me like it will get there, or at least cities will be designed around that being the primary mode of transportation. Maybe that's where it goes. There may still exist roads for individuals to drive their own car, because there's always going to be people who want to, myself included. But it seems to me like there will just for sure be a future in which the majority of, let's say, developed areas are in fact developed around some kind of automated vehicle system where people don't drive, and it's more like trains but without tracks necessarily. Some kind of automated system that we think of now as cars. Anyway, my point is that is coming someday. And I forget why I was making that point. I think I was going to build some second point on that. But I don't remember what it was. Whoa. What a great turn of events. With us we have Persuasion! Person says, oh, we're getting deep today. I mean, that's my preferred. If I had my way, we would exclusively be talking about this kind of stuff on every Tinker stream. I mean, maybe not exclusively, because I do also want to talk about comics and comic book movies. Speaking of which, if you are interested in comics, supposedly we're about to get the new trailer for the upcoming Supergirl movie, which is going to be dope. We're going to get the sort of like angry, jaded Supergirl who watched her planet get destroyed and didn't have, you know, she was old enough to be aware when it happened. She was older than her cousin, Superman. So she knew what was happening. She lost her whole planet. She was sort of not exactly a castaway, but something, I guess maybe something like a castaway. And she's angry about it. We're getting that version of Supergirl. We're getting Lobo. Lobo's going to be in it. Jason Momoa as Lobo. It's going to be dope. It's going to be dope, yo. Lobo will be dope, yo. So, you know. Probe says, continuing the autonomous vehicle discussion, it won't be something that individuals own. Like, you won't have your autonomous vehicle. But rather, it'll just be, what did you say? Oh, they'll turn up when we need them. Yeah. Maybe some kind of Uber-like thing. And probably what'll happen in practice, however this gets implemented, there will be some kind of functionality where, as AI continues to get more integrated into your devices, like supposedly the direction we're going is moving away from things like, here is the Apple phone, here is a Android phone, and so on. Supposedly we're just going to have pieces of hardware, but that hardware will just have an AI that connects to whatever, presumably cloud-based whatever. So you could like, oops, I dropped my phone and I broke it, and then go get a new device, and it's like precisely the same. You didn't lose any kind of data or anything. In any case, I was building up to something with AI there. You had an AI integration. Oh, the cars. So what the point I was going to suggest was, and remains, not only was this my point, but it still is my point. That with your AI device, where it's mostly just keyed into some kind of key whatever's of yours, and it knows your, you know, what you're looking up, what time of day you look, when do you go to sleep, when do you, you know, go for a walk or whatever, when do you eat, and over time, your personal AI will know things like, all right, you generally go out on a Saturday night, so when it's 7 or 8 on Saturday night, your AI will be able to, I don't know, send like an initial just like get ready if signal to the autonomous vehicles in the area, just so that the autonomous vehicles in the area understand, like, okay, here's the list of people who are likely to need a ride soon. So there'll be all of these efficiencies built into things, and it'll be pretty glorious. Of course, people as a species, we need to first get over, there's this big hump. There's this psychological hump. And by the way, it's not just psychological. This is a legitimate concern that humans have at this point. It's December 2025 as I speak, as we do this stream here. It's December 2025. I may as well say the day. What is it? December 11th. December 11th, 2025. In the modern day, as I speak, people still want to have some degree of privacy over a lot of things, over like most things, really. My, you know, belongings, my other personal details, various things that we could probably make a list of like 30 things off the top of your head with no delay whatsoever, of things that you just want to keep sure that the general public doesn't know, and in many cases that nobody knows, that it's just private to you. So this whole concept of privacy, it's very, what would you say, permeating? Most people have a sense of like property or belongings or personal information or anything, a sense of privacy. That stuff has to go. This sense of privacy has to be like evolved through. And that's something that humanity is not really ready for. So what may happen is we develop some kind of like skin over the, you know, personal things. Some kind of like protective, obscuring layer of, I'm not sure what. So that the AI that we live in still gets all the information it needs, but like humans, it's protected from human access. Or maybe not even that. I don't know. That's tough. I guess there are different ways it could go, and I would have to put more thought into like assuming each one and thinking through what happens after it. I currently don't seem to be able to project in those what would you say, like possible futures. I can't project beyond that bifurcation, I suppose. Of do we just forego the idea of privacy altogether, and we just have a different, like, moral code, different social code? Or do we indeed find a way to make all information available to AI, but still have a concept of retaining personal agency and personal control over your Johns? So I guess those are some things to ponder. Also to ponder is that we've got another layer here that needs to get created. Plus, I didn't even start messing with the keyboard yet at all. This has been a very talk-heavy stream. As I say, I like that. If I had my way, I would love to talk about topics of, like, let's say, philosophical weight at the least, but more accurately, things that are of value for you, things that will trigger some kind of practical insight that you benefit from. That's what I really would love to spend time talking about. To whatever degree I can do that. getting caught up on the chat. Whoa, hold on. There we go. That thing was turned on. I was just getting caught up on the chat. And then I got really excited, of course, because I saw... has joined us, which was this like really inspiring experience for me. I was like, yeah, all right, hey, look. I was like really inspired, just like filled with all this enthusiasm. I was like, whoa, look, did you see that? Did you see, look. That's what I was like. I was really inspired. It was a good time. It was really just a very nice, I don't know what it was. It was like, Nonetheless, I am getting caught up on the chat, and there is some chat to get caught up on. I see Nick is adding a bit of penetrating comic relief by saying, he's like, oh, I wasn't able to respond to something we were talking about earlier. He's like, oh, I couldn't respond to the AI topic we were talking about because he was not fully present because he was busy talking to an AI about something. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of AI all over the place. And people, I think, misunderstand what when people say AI, they're largely talking about large language models specifically, and they're talking about like ChatGPT. People in the professional world use Microsoft Copilot, and so on. Whatever AI you've had experience with and helps you. People misunderstand what it is. AI in this form, the large language models, what it is the UI you have always wanted. That's what AI is. What we talk about now is AI. It's the UI, the user interface. How many times have you had an experience yourself, or you've interacted with someone who expressed the following? That they're like, why can't I get the computer to do what I'm trying it to do? Why can't I get, Microsoft Excel to do this calculation? Oh, it's not quite right. Why can't I program it right? Or, I can't click in the spot, in as fine-tuned of a place with my mouse and all of this. The UI, the means by which you interact, or like, I didn't find what I was looking for when I searched for it on Google because the way I worded my search wasn't awesome enough. It didn't direct Google in the right way. What AI brings is that you can just be this, slob. You can be this total klutz and still get probably what you're looking for. If you don't get it on the first try, then you can go back a couple times with your AI and it'll zone in on what you're trying to say. That is huge. I think people misapprehend, but Misunderstand is fine. They wrongly assess what large language models are. Large language models are just a way to make it easy for you to interact with the computer. That's what people should be focused on. We're still going to need to have whatever kind of specialized software that does this and piece of hardware that does that. And we still need people to make, original music or whatever. But essentially, gone are the days of struggling with a Google search, right? You don't really have to worry about that anymore. There will come a time when many of your things in life can be automated by an AI that just invokes the other things that aren't necessarily AI, that are just like more solid pieces of machinery in software language, the software world, more deterministic programming. So the AI is like the go-between, the agent. The AI is the communicator, the mediator. And we do have generative AI, cool, which is extraordinarily impressive. And I'm always confused when I hear people get mad about it. It's so impressive. I don't know how you can feel anything other than like, whoa, this is amazing. But in any case, the purpose of generative AI is to offer options. So that's like, if you fast forward a few years, not even like 50 years, just, 5-10 years. You fast forward some number of years, whatever. I don't make a claim on the timeline there, how fast this is going to happen. But what we will observe is that large language models effectively become our UI for like everything, but it remains the UI. It can go and do, when we talk about generative AI specifically, it can go and create things, but it will hand them to a human to decide. So this is the solution to the fact that generative AI produces hallucinations. The solution is that it's a way of offering options, and you still need the human to say, give me which options, and then you need the human to pick from the options. That's what, that's where all this is going. Or if not pick from the options, to like accept it and revise it in, let's say some kind of write-up, some kind of like marketing write-up, or a news article or something. Those things can be generated. You can have a first draft from the AI, but then the human comes in and tweaks it, or says, no, give me a different draft that has this other tone, but then the human takes that draft and tweaks it. So the AI is just about giving you, I guess, maybe options or starting points. That's what generative AI is for. And it's amazing. I mean, I'm on the side of people. I'm in the chorus of people who are like, whoa, AI is so amazing and incredible. I see there's a fair amount of chat for me to get caught up on here. Let's see what's happening in the chat here. There's some kind of discussion around tequila going on? Whoa, what did I miss? And tequila. Okay, so Nick just brought up tequila. He was talking about how, what do you have a tequila right now, Nick? Is that what's going on? I am not having tequila myself. Oh my goodness, you know what I'm realizing? Have I ever had just a straight shot of tequila? I have had tequila before in drinks and what have you. Have I ever had just tequila? Yes. I can think of at least one time. Okay. Okay, so at least one specific instance confirmed. There's something about a worm. I don't know what this is. With tequila and a worm, I don't know what that's about. But I know people talk about that. I'm sure some people who are listening to this are laughing right now about the worm, the tequila worm. I don't know about it though. Wabbit says that he and tequila were best friends once, but you've since parted ways. Yeah, I don't really drink myself. I have had alcohol. That alcohol has passed through my digestive system. But, you know, not only do I not drink now, I haven't had alcohol as a regular thing in my diet since college, frankly. I just don't really drink. I'm not a fan of being drunk. And I don't just mean like I'm not a fan of the hangovers. I also just not really a fan of being drunk. There is a nice little level of like you have one or two drinks and you get a little bit more, I guess, let's say uninhibited. That can be nice, specifically in a social application, a social context. But aside from that, I don't really like. I can understand if you appreciate specific drinks, like if you're a drink connoisseur. I know there's some discussion of brandy going on here. Oh, Nick is making a joke. Never mind. I got lured into some kind of thing. But brandy or bourbon, you know, I know a lot of people like bourbon. I've had bourbon. That's heavy. Bourbon, that's hard. I could see why that's like a whole thing that some people, it's their hobby, that they're just like way into the bourbon, and I could dig it. You know, I understand that being a thing, but I myself, I'm not really into that. There is something I am really into, which is what I will presently tell you this very instant, and you'll be happy to know. Has joined us, which is a very, very good thing. So anyway, yeah, I don't really drink much. I don't want to say never. If I were to drink something, I would have probably a glass of red wine. That's probably my go-to arbitrary thing on a random, you know, unless otherwise directed. I would have a Cabernet. That would be my first choice. If they don't have a Cabernet, I get a Merlot. Wabbit has this is like the realest thing you're going to hear all day. I'm even going to put this on the stream. Wabbit has earned the very righteous privilege of the first comment to be pinned on the screen on this stream, which is a very worthy privilege indeed. Here's this like total realness that'll just absolutely knock you on your ass. Here it comes. Wabbit says, an AI personality has never hurt me. So just reflecting on the AI topic. But Wabbit then continues. Not only does Wabbit say the AI personality has never hurt me, people have. Truth. We are in the presence of some truth at this time. If you are not familiar with how to spell truth, it is T-R-O-O-F. T-R-O-O-F. Wabbit is just dropping the truth. Wabbit says, AI won't roll its eyes at you. Yeah, no kidding. I had an experience like that today, actually. That, not a shocker. This is not a... this is a somewhat ordinary day-to-day experience. But I, had an experience today and sometimes find that people, like living, breathing humans, sometimes fall short of infinite professionalism. I observe that sometimes. People have flaws, and so they themselves can get irritated and snappy, and you don't always get the 10 out of 10 customer service. But AI can give you that. And so some social commentators comment on that, and they point it out as a danger to how people will just more and more prefer AI over other humans. And just people will get less and less social skills. They'll atrophy. They'll lose the ability to interact. I mean, people argue that's already happening for the past generation or two. But even more so. I don't know. I don't know if it'll go that far. Maybe it will. But certainly it's true that AI has no... Oh, you know what? Here, let me tie it back to something we were talking about earlier. Remember how I said earlier that the purpose of the human dimension, the purpose for you to have awareness through this dimension of being a human, the purpose of it is for you to have the opportunity to take responsibility for one or more things. And that's why I conjectured earlier, that's why after you do something, after you try hard and you make sure something is done well or whatever it is, you get tired and you need to take a rest. You need to take a break. You can't quote unquote adult all day. You do have to eventually just hit the couch and say, "Woo, I'm so sick of everything." That's what you're doing on the human dimension, is you're developing this capacity to be responsible. But as a human, you need to rest. You don't have the capacity for infinite, limitless, unending responsibility. But AI does have that. AI can be endlessly friendly forever. Endlessly attentive and focused with concentration. So that's another thing to think about. Interesting. Nick ties this back to some Tool lyrics. I think was that Prison Sex? Was that the Tool song Prison Sex? Nick quotes, "I have found some kind of temporary sanity in this." Yeah. Any kind of addiction that applies to. Any kind of I'm gonna hold you in my hand and you will serve my purpose dependency. A lot of continued chats. I'm not voicing every single one of them, but there's a lot I'm still getting caught up on. I see Wabbit says that Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, has helped work immensely. That's cool. That's good to hear. I have used Copilot, but I can't say I use it every day. I've used it for things like, please help me to write this email. Please make sure it has a good tone. Help me to make sure that my message is being conveyed and it comes off in a spirit of teamwork. Copilot has helped me in those regards a fair amount. There's been a couple of maybe not necessarily important per se, but emails that I really should make sure I get all the messaging and tone and everything correct. And not just emails, whatever other deliverable I'm creating. So AI, to tie everything together from today, AI has this capacity for unending, endless taking responsibility for X. Indefatigable, how about that? Which some people pronounced indefatigable. Indefatigable. Inexhaustible reservoir is what AI has for being the bigger person, let's say. Going back to drinking, Wabbit says, "Why drink? These recon vibes are intoxicating." Nice. Nick says, "When I'm not drunk, I'm already uninhibited. So I try not to drink much. I might have like a drink, but then be done with it. A shot, perhaps. I won't go and get drunk, though. I don't want to risk what that sometimes can bring." Wabbit says, "Shout out to the injured thumb mafia." Yeah, my injured thumb. If you missed the story, I went into it in some detail in the previous stream. This is the Tinker stream from December 10th, 2025. I discussed it a bit, but it's basically just some lacerations that are down my thumb, or I guess it's over here on this side. There's like a chunk of skin that's just removed, and another laceration down here that required 5 or 6 stitches. There's mad blood everywhere. There was so much testosterone all over the place. I was manually ripping apart a piece of metal machinery. It was like the most manly, the most like stupid man thing is what I'm trying to say. Dumb masculinity. That's what that was. And now I have this to show as a badge of honor. Studio 8FX says, "I can't afford the hangovers." Man, you don't have to tell me twice about that. I mentioned I don't really like being drunk. I definitely don't like the hangover. The hangover is like everything that's bad about being drunk except the parts that are good about being drunk. Or without the parts. All of the like reductive, depressive, inhibitive elements of alcohol, but none of the like expressive, fun, social elements. Hangovers are the inversion of what you want. Wabbit has a postulate that I will not push back on at all. Going back to AI, I was making a comment earlier, you recall, about AI having this inexhaustible capacity to just be polite, effectively, is what I was saying earlier. And Wabbit has a comment that says, it would be our failing if we humans, aren't decent to other humans. It's our own fault if AI wins at that. I don't push back on that at all. I believe that, as I say, the purpose of having this human dimension is specifically to take responsibility for it. The cool thing about AI is that it fills in the gaps when there are lapses in what humans can be responsible for. Like, think of how cool it'll be at some point in the future. I don't think we're there yet, but you could have like an AI, nanny or coach. I'm not sure, like companion from birth that helps raise you is what I'm trying to say. And that can help fill in the gaps for any parenting flaws, I suppose. Most people will have some kind of story about how they didn't get this and they didn't get that from their parents, and oh, this wasn't awesome, and yeah, I can appreciate this, but this other thing wasn't great. Most people have some kind of mixed bag like that. It's going to be awesome when humanity, when even like the average person has at their disposal this AI coach, raiser, one who raises. So they have their parents in principle, but they also have something that can help, help them move through developmental stages. Or what about just going to the store and the person who's at the store is having a bad day and they're tired, they can't be nice to you. I think there's room in our world to normalize that compassionately. To say like, hey, you're overwhelmed and you are not able to be nice to me right now. I do think we should still have standards for not being rude. So I'm not saying we should just tolerate all sorts of rude behavior, but I am saying it's okay to just be neutral. You don't always have to be nice. And if you're overwhelmed, you're having a bad day, or frankly, a bad week, or a bad month, or a bad year, or a bad life, and you just can't muster the strength to be smiley, friendly, I think there should be room in our social exchanges for that to be normalized. And just not just like, oh yes, let me remember this proactive affirmation that I tell myself that it's okay if I talk to someone and they're not super bubbly. It's all right if they're neutral. No, just like we just know it. I think there's room for our cultural interactions to evolve in that direction. Shrug emoji. I see No Lake has the very on-point observation that says, but a synth addiction is okay. What about AI synthesizers or AI synths? You use any of those? There's at least one generative tool. I forget what it's called, but there's one that got kind of popular, a generative synthesizer. I forget what it's called. But, in the past couple years, it shows its head here and there. Somebody gets one and they, play around with it. It looks cool. I wish I could remember what it's called. But even for the people who are here as part of my regulars and you're part of the local YouTube communities, if you know Scruffy Fox, he uses generative tools of some kind. I don't know exactly what he does, but when he does his streams almost every day. By the way, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Scruffy Fox, you should check out his YouTube page. He does it's not daily, but it's most days. He does like 3 hours or so of just like video footage of riding in a train while he does all of this partially generative synthesizer stuff, but also some manual artist synthesizer stuff that he's adding. He has a cool stream. I check that out very often. Anyway, my point is he does some generative stuff if you know his page. If you know his like train streams. Nick has a comment about AI. Nick says, it may be that AI is trained, or, certain types of AI are trained on us and our behavior, and therefore, implicitly, whatever biases we tend toward or have. But the AI itself usually doesn't suffer from those unless that's part of the interaction, like part of a personality that it was. If you create a certain avatar with a certain personality, then it might do that. But otherwise, AI itself isn't subject to those kinds of limitations. I say there's some more commentary in the chat talking about how humans need a rest. We do. What's with that? I don't know. Do you think we're going to get to the point of having UBI from AI? That is to say, universal basic income? It seems like some people are talking about that now. Talking about that being a direction we might be heading in. That AI will indeed eliminate or automate a lot. It still remains to be seen how much, due to the hallucinations. But nonetheless, a lot. And due to the fact that AI will automate so much, and so many people are concerned, you might even have this concern yourself, about AI taking away some things that it shouldn't take away, like certain types of work, or more of on a social scale, society level scale, takes away just like large segments of the population from doing any work, just due to lack of available opportunities, because there's so much automated by AI. So there's so many people who just won't really work much, if at all. And so this is part of those conversations where some people now are talking about universal basic income, especially because the cost of things should be driven down, because the cost will be reduced due to the fact that AI can automate things that no longer need to pay a salary to a person to do. So the cost of things will go down, or could go down, hypothetically, in a certain flow of events. And so while the cost goes down, we can also have the efficiency and therefore the profit go up. And so thus is the argument that it may be feasible in the near future to begin more widespread universal basic income programs. Some are put into practice and are being tested out to see if they're okay. But I mean like widespread. Most people have that universal basic income, basic. The question is whether that'll happen. I don't know. It seems feasible that society could get to a point of having like spending money, which is essentially what universal basic income is. Spending money as something that its citizens have. I think it's imaginable. I don't know that I see a fully vivid vision of it, but there might be ways that it integrates with like, economic stimulus and all this. There might be ways that it could be legit. I don't know. What's your opinion, though, on that? Are we headed toward universal basic income? Is that related to the rise of AI, automating things and making things more efficient and less expensive? Wabbit says, I wouldn't mind some universal basic intelligence. I think there's room for universal basic intelligence to be elevated. Especially in certain areas. I think that's fair. Maybe certain standard expectations. I think there's room for all of that. You may know, my regulars know. I mentioned that I've been tiptoeing into some basic music theory, learning about, I've mentioned previously, chords on a keyboard, on a piano, chords and like how to use them and build on them and stuff. And so I've been like randomly toying with those. And if you've known about that, you may have noticed generally the past couple of weeks, maybe a week or two, in most of the times that I put my hand to the keyboard, I'm doing something with some chords somewhere. I'm playing around. I'm trying to figure out how to use that. But here's another thing, if you were following that saga. I recently started learning about the circle of fifths. I've seen it before, I've heard of it before, but I never knew anything about it from a music theory perspective. So I'm just beginning to learn a little bit about it, and so I have a sense now of like what this positioning of these letters means, and what does it mean for a given key if you're in major or you're in minor. So that's cool. That's a little thing I'm adding as well. I like when it comes to learning, I wonder if you have an opinion on this too. When it comes to learning stuff, there's a lot of approaches. Being a professional educator, I have some thoughts on the topic. But one of the approaches I take for myself, among other approaches, is this one here, where I'll just take like little bites, but I do so in a consistent manner. So I'll like consistently, over an extended period, take small steps. And it's always fun with that approach. It's always fun looking back on how much progress you make. It's like, wow, it's been a year. Look how much music theory I've learned. That's cool. I see there's some comments in the chat related to driving and rules of the road, how to operate an automobile. Everybody feels like they know how to drive. It's really curious how that happens. But maybe it's not literally every single person, but it's pretty much everyone. Everyone believes they're the one who's driving right. One person feels like, oh, why don't you hit the gas? Oh, you're driving so slow, that's the wrong way to drive. And the other person says like, why are you trying to rush? That could be dangerous, that's the wrong way to drive. Everybody thinks they're driving right. And so much so that they'll get mad about it. And by the way, if no one's ever explained road rage to you, this is the explanation. It's a combination of things. It's one element is everybody thinks that they know how to drive, that they know that they are the paragon of driving, that everybody believes they are the one who knows how to drive best. I am doing everything right. That's how people just sort of assume. But there's the other element of the fact that when you are experiencing, let's say, road rage toward another driver, you don't get to interact with that person. I mean, usually. Maybe you can lean out the window and start shouting and fighting at them, but that's after the road rage already happened. So the road rage comes in when all you see is like a car. That's not a human. You don't see body language, facial expression. You don't see anything. And so what that does, here's the part 2B. Part 1 is everyone thinks that they are awesome at driving and everyone else was wrong. Part 2 is you don't get to interact with the person. It's just like a blank slate of a machine, a car. Part 2B is because it's the blank slate of the car, the machine, that offers no pushback to your assumptions. What are your assumptions? See point number one. Point number one is you're awesome and your judgment of how to drive is the right judgment. So you just have this like quickly self-reinforcing dynamic of you're right and you think you're right and someone did something inconvenient and they're not pushing any pushback on the fact that you're saying they're wrong. They must be wrong and you're right and look at how right you are, and it builds up, and this is why you have road rage. And for many people, not a majority of people, but many, for many people there's a sort of road rage in other areas of life, and they can't manage, for whatever reason. There's multiple explanations for this, possible explanations, but for whatever reason, that dimension of not having road rage, that dimension of just like being a calm, peaceable fellow, that's one area of the human dimension where they cannot muster responsibility. There are some people like that. Not really good emotional regulation, you might say. They don't take responsibility on that aspect of the human dimension of just being nice, being polite, being approachable. And AI is going to help us a lot with that. It already is. It will continue to help us a lot. It'll smooth out these human failings. If that gives you any comfort, any solace thinking about AI, if you have anxiety about AI, I have like no anxiety. I have almost no anxiety about AI. I can understand some anxiety, but if you do have any anxiety related to AI, then allow this to bring you some comfort that the net effect of AI will be smoothing out the shortcomings of humans. Will be filling in the gaps of the shortcomings of humans. That's why some people say AI is like the awesomest average person. It's just in every single possible area, it is like peak human. AI doesn't make new things like humans do. Humans bring novelty and spontaneity. Generative AI, as we know it today, doesn't bring that, but it does bring the highest skill level that humans attain in every area. Crazy Wabbit says he meanders and wanders sometimes. I think that can be healthy. Sometimes your brain needs that. In fact, people who do research related to Alzheimer's would tell you that there are chemicals in your brain that need to be like, what would you say, irrigated? I don't know. I'm not claiming to be an expert on this topic. But that doing some kind of rest is helpful in that expunging of brain chemicals that need to be cycled or whatever it is. Again, I'm not an expert or knowledgeable on that topic, but I know there's something like that, and sort of like a relaxed, aimless wandering, sort of, if you like, tying it back to things from earlier in the stream today, tying it back to allowing yourself to have rest from needing to be responsible, from needing to be focused, from needing to concentrate, from needing to be on point. Just allowing yourself to relax on that, to not be responsible for that. That can be very healing. And that may be, in fact, something that's critical for this kind of rest, this abdicating of responsibility, this temporary release, this temporary cessation of being put together. That can be healthy. Crazy Wabbit says, Tinker Time is awesome. Yeah, I agree, it is. that one on the screen as well. That one looks good. Take your time. It is awesome. We're really close to 2 hours. That's pretty long. Usually we only go like an hour or so. This is a pretty long stream. We had a lot of good talking today. Should we make it 2 hours just for the sake of making it a nice rounded 2 hours? We still got to do the closing, the stream close. Usually that takes like 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes maybe. And that includes where, you know, I bring up the slide that says here's when the streams are every week. And then we do the closing blessing. And then I let it play out for another, I don't know, a minute or so. So that's like 3 or 4 minutes between all of that. And we are at 1:54. So we're pretty close. We're pretty close to the time that we can begin the show closing and still get a nice 2 hours. We're at over 600 subs. You know what we should do? We should do a closing cheers. Grab your drink if you are the kind of person who joins us for these. If you're the kind of person who loves looking forward to this very unifying experience, where you know that you get to participate in this collective ritual, this participation, this unifying ritual that transcends space and time. You get to cheers with everybody if you're here with us live, but also if you're joining us after the live, you're also part of the same event. It somehow transcends space and time. It's awesome. And if you're going to do it, my friends, we're doing it on 3, and it comes like this. 1, 2, 3. Clink. Cheers, my friends. That's good. That's good. And this beat was good. This beat came out nice. We had some good music today. What a good hangout. This is like hanging out with your friends at the bar. What an awesome experience this is. And the fact that this is available to you online wherever you go, that's so great. You can go on vacation and still hang out with us. That's great. That's so cool. Please like this video. Please subscribe. I could use some subs, if I'm going to be honest with you. Let me keep it real with you. Please help us reach our goal, which is to far exceed 600 subscribers as we go into 2026. We are a little bit over 600 subs right now, which is great. Which is really exciting. I feel excited right now. It's hard for me to not smile about that. But we're over 600 subs. Let's keep at it, friends. We still have a few more weeks left. We have to remain far in excess of 600 subscribers as we go into 2026. I hope to see you again in the next live stream. My regulars know we get together to do live streams multiple times a week. Sometimes we got talking, like today. That's called Tinker Time. Sometimes there's no talking at all. Sometimes you just want to put on a stream and you have it on in the background and there is not a single word the whole time. That's called unspoken. We do those too. And my regulars know that these come through on a regular basis. At the top of the screen right now, Eastern U.S. time zone, Sundays at 1 p.m., Tuesdays at 9 p.m., and then a whole bunch more. We usually do another 2 or 3 streams each week at whatever day and time. Enable notifications so you could join us when we do those other streams at other days and times. And until then, my friends, whenever it is that I see you again, whenever it is that we see each other again, until then, please, please, please have a very good rest of your day today. Please let the rest of your day today bring you all manner of goodness and blessing. Please experience the beginnings of miraculous healing today. Please allow new possibilities to be opened up before you today. Things that you told yourself weren't possible. Things that other people told you aren't possible. Please allow those to come to you today. And I will see you in the next Reconsider It live stream.